Yeah, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It's a big pleasure, man. I'm so happy to have you over here. This is my dear friend and trumpetist extraordinaire, Mr. Till
Brönner.
Oh yeah, I wish I could pronounce that, but it sounds much better when he said.
I mean, come on, it's not Egyptian, is it?
Man, but it's not a kind of easy thing. I'm struggling to pronounce a word in English. Now you want me to pronounce your
Because
name?
now we can do it together, like we play it together, like a little jam. It's going to be Brönner.
Brönner.
Brönner. I think
Brönner.
the umlaut is a challenge.
Okay.
Brönner.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, here's Till Brönner.
See, he can do anything.
I'm never gonna get tired to tell everyone all the time. People, you know what? This is no, I'm trying to lick your, you know what? But every time they ask me, Arturo, who's the guy you're listening to lately? You know. Just you're the first name and it came out.
Oh.
Always. I'm very serious, man, and I really mean that. Otherwise, I don't need to be like, you know, I'm too old for that. But I say it because I really mean that. Since the first time I heard your recording, by the way, the first thing I hear was the recording you did of 7 Step to Heaven with Tay Six, Al Jarreau, and
John Hendricks.
John Hendricks. Man, I hear that recording and I hear that trumpet solo and all the things you did, also the multi-track you did with 4 flute or something, you know. I hear that thing, I said, damn, who's that guy? And then I see that name and Till. Until I don't meet that guy.
Peyroux. You know the story? You want to hear the story, how this happened? Actually, they sent me a different track than this one, to record on. And
a different tune?
A different tune that ended up, being played by someone else on the record. And they sent me the tune, and I recorded layers of trumpets, and did the same thing, like, a section, and then put quite some work into it, and then I sent it over, and the first reaction was, "Oh man, I'm so sorry, we sent you the wrong tune."
Oh, come on.
Well, we really want you to play on the 7 Steps to Heaven, and I got a little upset, to be perfectly honest, I said, "Oh, come on, guys."
You for nothing.
Exactly. So they sent me the track, and I had to do the same thing, and I was so angry, that probably, that came out, I'm not playing a little bit.
Not at all. Not at all. But let me ask you a question. What they did with the other tune?
Say again?
What they did with the other tune you recorded that wasn't for you?
I'm probably too discreet, to say that, because someone else ended up playing. I think it was a trumpet player. So if you look up, who played on the record, this guy got the tune.
Don't mention names. Yeah, but those things happen very often to everybody.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to tell you my story because it's so embarrassing. But anyway, yes, I'm going to mention one. I'm so sorry. I think it was Paul Simon, one of those guys, with Michael Brecker. Michael did an incredible solo, and then they came back to the studio and erased it and put somebody else afterwards.
That's
somebody with the last name of G. I
can't think of anyone right
now.
No,
I can't. No. Anyway,
G.
Now let's start with the formality a little bit.
Okay, pleasure.
Where and when you was born?
I was born in a very small town of Germany, close to the Dutch border, called Viersen. Don't actually get there to pronounce it.
By Hamburg or where?
No, it's close to Düsseldorf and Cologne, and close to Venlo, which is a Dutch town. So it's in the west, a little town. Near the Rhine area, and I was born there, but I was only born there because my mother's family came from there. And after that, this was 1971, we went to Rome, Italy for 5 years because both of my parents, my mother and my father, happened to be school teachers. And you could apply, for a German school in a foreign country, and that's what they did. So
both of them?
Both of them.
Got a job?
Yes, and we went to Rome, and I grew up in Rome basically the first 5 years of my life I spent
And
there.
what about your Italian? Capisci?
Capisco un poco, posso parlare, ma
Molto bene.
after 2 weeks, you know, I actually get in there, you know.
Good.
But I have tapes of myself, you know, when I was in kindergarten, in Italian
Now I
kindergarten.
understand, because your feeling and your things is more Italian than German.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
I'm a mezzo romano.
Mezzo romano. Molto. Molto bene. And mangia spaghetti.
Sì, mi piace tanto.
Mi piace tanto. Man, I swear to God, I didn't have any idea that you was living for 5 years.
It was great.
In Italy.
I still have some family there.
Okay,
You know.
in your family, anybody musician before you?
My ancestors and my grandfather and both grandfathers happened to be church musicians, and there's
For
another
fun or
guy.
professional?
No, professional.
Professional.
Choir leaders and also church organists. You know, and. But none of my parents was a professional musician. My mother was playing piano and sang a little bit and did music in school, but she wasn't a professional. And my father loved music and played a little cello.
And what they teach mainly, like German?
They taught German and maths and physics. You know, my
All those
dad
kind
at
of
least.
things,
You know,
yeah.
and my mother was
Regular
more on the
school
German.
teacher.
Yes, regular school. Also elementary school. You know, so
Yeah.
really early stage kind of stuff. And
Okay, after Italy, where you went?
we came back to the Cologne area, and this is where I went to school. And luckily, we had a school big band there, you know, which
In the city of Cologne?
in the city of Bonn, actually, which is the
Bonn,
former
that was the capital.
the former capital of Germany,
Yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
and hometown of Beethoven. You know, that's where he was born. You know, he was born in Bonn.
And you lose like him a little bit.
Thank you so much for saying that. But I was very fortunate to go to a school that was very much into arts and music and sports and all these things. You know, were very much supported by the.
You had to drive from your town to, or you were
Yeah,
living?
but it wasn't that long. It was like a 10-kilometer drive. You know,
Oh,
which
that's
is like
like nothing.
6 miles or something.
6 miles,
Yeah,
yeah, that's nothing.
very close. And I was in the band, and I came in there, and I was the youngest, and I was completely afraid. And I think the band was playing something from Glenn Miller or Benny Goodman, you know, probably like Chattanooga Choo Choo or something. And I was there, and I was so intimidated, you know, with my horn that I only played for, let's say, a year or two. And the band leader, who ended up being my trumpet teacher later on, you know, he was very cool. He saw me and said, "Come on, boy, sit down. And this time you're going to play approximately one note, but next week it's going to be 2 notes." You know.
No, but
I was completely.
I'm sorry, but I think we're going too fast.
Okay,
because,
okay.
No, because you didn't tell me when you pick an instrument and when you really start to think about that music was your passion, and when you really decide that you want to be a musician. When that happens?
Well, I grew up classically in a way. You know, everybody in our home was very much a fan of classical music. You know, Bach, Beethoven, you know, choir music and all that. So for a long time,
Mahler?
oh yes,
Mozart,
Brahms and all that stuff. You know, but for a long time, I had no idea what kind of music, you know, would be my thing to do, because I wasn't even planning on becoming a musician. But my father, he was listening to a radio show every Sunday morning when we had breakfast with the family. Mm-hmm. And it was 9 o'clock in the morning, and the show was called Swing and Ballads. I will never forget that.
In German or in
English? In German, you know.
How you say that?
Swing und Balladen.
You hear that? Yeah. Make a note.
And they played all kinds of stuff, you know, that you could listen to when you were not at jazz.
American music?
American music, you know, some European music, you know, but also Louis Armstrong. And I think the moment I heard Louis Armstrong, I was listening up, you know. I really did make a difference. It did make a difference. And we're talking the 70s, you know, like the mid-late 70s.
How old you were?
I was 7 years old.
Sorry.
And that was the time when in Germany, every Saturday night show on TV had a big band. You know, besides the big stairs, the show stairs, you know, where the moderator was coming down, the host, they had a big band and an orchestra like Johnny Carson in the US. And hello, you know, exactly. And you know what? Guten Abend.
Guten Abend.
And you know what? As a kid, I think I have to admit I was just as impressed, you know, by the look of these guys, you know, sitting there in their white tuxedos, you know, than the sound, you know. Also the look of the trumpet, you know, it felt like a small revolver in people's hands, you know, and they were sitting up there.
I never thought about that.
And it's like, it was like a weapon. I think it was...
Some of them killed some people, yeah.
Because they could throw it, you know, throw it at people, you know. So I think it was at least, you know, as much, you know, as I can recall, it was at least the uniform part and the look, you know, because my very first trumpet teacher was in the army, and he showed up, you know, at the class, you know, when he was coming to teach me, you know, he showed up in a full uniform, you know, with, I mean, he looked really impressive, you know, absolutely, you know, so I was totally into that kind of stuff. So the trumpet was only a part of the whole thing. And later on, you know...
But so far, you decided already that that's the instrument?
I wanted to play trumpet when I saw these bands.
The very first time?
Yeah, the very first time. And a year later, or maybe 1.5 years later, I got it, you know, because I was going, you know, you know, I grew up Catholic.
And then you fell in love with the trumpet at the first sight?
Absolutely, on first sight.
Wow,
you know.
man.
I played the recorder before, you know, a little bit, just to learn the notes and the music and read something, you know, but I hated the sound of it.
A recorder?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I know. Looks like a terrible pan flute.
Not my bag.
Okay, and then you were already 7.5 or something when you picked the trumpet for the first time?
I was 8.5 probably. You know, when I picked the trumpet, you know, and I was given the trumpet.
Did you start by yourself, and somebody give you some lessons?
My aunt happened to have a music store, but an old school music store where you could still, you know, listen to records, you know, buy music, buy instruments, buy an organ, buy a piano, have your instrument, you know, repaired, and all these kind of things.
And they sell trumpets?
Drums, and they sold trumpets too, you know. So she actually gave me my first trumpet.
Your first trumpet?
Your Aunt Doris. She gave me my trumpet.
My first trumpet, my aunt gave it to me too. I swear to God.
Aunts are important, Arturo.
I swear to God, man. At least we have something in common.
Absolutely. Well, that's not the only thing.
Our aunts gave us the first horn. And then lesson?
Then lesson. With the guy that was in the military still, you know, he was an army trumpet player.
Private lesson?
Private lesson. Very talented gentleman who's still there.
Your parents paid for it?
My parents paid for it, yes, and you know, it was quite an effort in the beginning, you know, but it seemed that there was some sort of talent, and the guy said, okay, you have a tone like a Madonna, whatever that means, but you know, he wanted, you know, me to stick with the horn and, you know, keep practicing. So the only thing I remember, you know, is basically
tone like a Madonna.
He loved my sound, you know, right from the start. I can't tell you why. But he said you have a like
Madonna is a lady.
Yeah, you have a tone like a lady. Maybe he thought I had a tone like a woman, you know, on my horn.
Wow, that's beautiful, because that's very true. This is one of the particular things that really caught my attention the first time I hear you, was the beauty of the sound.
Thank you.
And the beauty of the sound, and this is the most important thing. I have been, since I hear you the first time, I've been struggling, looking for trumpets, mouthpieces, and then trying to sound like you.
Really?
And I'm still in the mission.
It's a journey. You know, sometimes I have a feeling sound is something that happens somewhere in your head, and you can't get rid of it. You know, it's. I mean, how do you feel about it?
No, I agree 100%. But it's something also in your physics, in your body, in your mouth, your embouchure, in the way you place the mouthpiece. Of course, we have to guess. I talked about that always a lot. And people don't want to hear that again. But it's very true. We're going to be able to produce the kind of sound that we can guess, that we can imagine before we do this. You know, you have to imagine that sound. And I know that's happened with you. That you want to produce that sound.
I never heard
But
any
you
other
have
sound
some
of mine.
help with your embouchure, your, configuration in your mouth and your throat, in the way you place your mouthpiece, the aperture in between lips. All those things make a big difference in the production of sound. And but of course, the bottom line, when you got a good sound, okay, what you gonna do with that? That's the bottom line. That's the most important thing. How you gonna make that sound musical?
That's it.
And how you gonna express your ideas, not based only in the beauty of the sound. Is because we need a bunch of different inflection and different nuances of the sound to make a real speech complete, to make something like have all the ingredients that the good speech need. But okay, let's continue. Your first group or band or something that you play, when you start to get a little familiar with the horn, how many lessons you took with that guy? You remember the name?
Yes, of course. Charlie Müller, which is a very German name, but Charlie, his actual first name is Karl Heinz. Karl and Heinz, which is probably the most famous German name, like Heinz Ketchup,
Oh my Lord.
Karl
That was
Heinz
his name.
Müller.
He's still with us?
He's still, he's still there, and he comes to my concerts, and I owe him a lot.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
He's
That's
still
beautiful.
teaching, and he's a wonderful guy,
Beautiful.
from the Cologne area.
How many lessons you remember that you took? Like
I was probably with him for 1.5 years, maybe
1.5 years.
maybe 2 years, until we moved to this little town, which was closer to my future school. And this is when I had.
Do you remember what books he used with you?
In the beginning, it was a trumpet book by Richard Stegmann, a German trumpet player, and the second teacher I had started teaching me the Arban school.
The Arban book.
Which
Good.
I started to study from all ends, from the back, from the beginning. I think it's sometimes I got frustrated with it, but I'm afraid it's really what you can study. It makes sense.
No, Arban, everybody calls it the Bible.
Yeah, absolutely.
And your first gig?
I will never forget my first gig. My first gig was in high school, and it was the summer party. Like before the year comes to an end. And it was a big barbecue party. For all families. And it was a fest, like a school fest. And I played there, and I will never forget. I played my first solo, and it was just a blues. A jam. With that, because they opened up a whole tune and arrangement by maybe Artie Shaw or something, and I had to stand up, and I had a tape. I still have that tape at home. I sounded terrible, but it was my first solo, and I will never forget it, of course.
That's good, because that inspired you to practice a little more.
Absolutely, especially when I listen to it.
That's cool. Okay, and what age you were at the time already?
First gig, I was probably 10 years old.
10?
Yeah, 10. And
Wow.
later on, we played on the streets because every year on November 11th, the day of St. Martin,
11/11.
11/11 exactly. We went on the streets, and we had we had to play with the
Like
band,
a procession, like
with the
a-
Lampions,
yeah.
exactly, the procession, and this is when I made my first money, and for and sometimes we had like 4 processions, in one day.
Like it was a Catholic one?
Absolutely, it was a Catholic school, and it was my most important week during the year, because I was making so much money for a student, for a little pupil, and I got, I think, 20 marks at the time, Deutsch marks, which is not a bad thing, per procession, So I was for about a week I was the richest kid, in the school.
How big was the band, or was it?
I think it was like 10 players, 10 brass guys, and a big drum,
Bass drum,
bass
snares,
drum, yeah, pretty much.
cymbals.
A bit German, you
Yeah,
know,
like a
but-
marching band.
Absolutely,
Kind of
it was a marching band. No sousaphone, but
They're very popular in Germany.
absolutely. I mean,
man.
especially in the south of Germany.
I
you know.
never forget it. Every time I went to the gig, they're very late at night, on the weekends, early in the morning. It's like, all over, man. I say, oh my goodness, I need to sleep.
German polka bands. I'm
Yeah,
telling
but
you.
very early in the
Yes.
morning,
It's
especially on Sunday.
South of Frankfurt, you know,
Yeah.
until, you know, deep Bavaria, you know, Munich and even further south. You know, this is where you can find some of the most impressive instrumentalists and polka bands. You know, it really is in their DNA. And above Frankfurt, you know, like north. Exactly, you know, and
Barrilito Cervecero.
oh,
That's it in Spanish. How,
The song?
How's the name of that in German?
I think I don't know the German name, but I think it's called. Let me think about it. I don't know right now, but I know I could play it for
Barrilito
you.
Cervecero is like a beer little small barrel.
It's das kleine Fass. We'll look it up actually, you know. But I'm probably going to make
That's
a bad
okay.
impression.
It's okay. It's okay. And then let me make a very quick parenthesis over here to let everybody know that unfortunately we always do this live and people can make questions, and then we always have a friend over here, Tim Lamarca, helping with the question. And unfortunately we couldn't do that because Till is for a few days here in LA, and then he's gonna get back to Germany. And then I said, you know what? I cannot miss this opportunity to have Till in the series. And we're doing just Till, me, and our sound engineer and our right hand man, Mr. Dustin Higgin. Dustin, I need you help me with the timing because you know because we don't have the clock today. I have no idea how much we have it already. Okay, and then saying that, this is going to be the first one that is pre-recorded, and they're going to show it later on. I'm not going to say the date, but because to keep it fresh. And
we don't know yet.
yes, we don't know exactly the date yet, but I'm going to let you know because I want you help us to promote this and let everybody all over Europe, all your fans there,
which I will certainly
to watch our show. You know,
happy to.
This is presented by ASI. ASI is a Arturo Sandoval Institute. It's a 100% non-profit leader organization. The only thing we do is help kids in needs, you know, that to provide instruments, lessons, scholarship, all kind of things, you know. That's what we have been doing for the last 4 years. And this is presented by ASI. But saying that, let's go now in more deep into the music. Because for sure, I know that people want to know what you hear, how you've been prepared to be the kind of musician that you are for a bunch of years already, no? But what kind of things you study? What is your preparation? What you really pay attention more than other things in terms of be a better improviser, for example?
Well, I'm also a teacher in Germany, of course, you know, and I realized
What
the
you
only
teach
things.
there?
I teach at the conservatory in Dresden, in the city of Dresden. I'm a professor
trumpet?
there. Yes, I teach trumpet there.
Private lessons?
And it's official, and I'm a professor there at the
No, but I
conservatory.
mean, you teach
private
lessons?
Yeah, face-to-face.
Yeah, face-to-face,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
And honestly, one of my most important teachers came from this town, from Los Angeles, by the name Bobby Shu, which is, you know, I mean, he's a star in the world of trumpet.
Everybody knows him. Yeah.
And Bobby was the guy that recorded all the records that we couldn't get in Germany at the time for me, you know, and in real time. He went home and he recorded all his LPs, you know, his vinyls, you know, on a cassette tape. So there was 2 LPs, you know, on one cassette. And I sent him 40 tapes, you know, and he actually recorded 80 records for me, you know, and I mean just the most important stuff, you know, like Kenny Dorham, which is a huge influence of mine, and of course Freddie Hubbard, you know, but also in Germany, you know, Clifford, of course, you know,
Lee Morgan,
Conti Candoli, you know, which I was very fortunate to meet later, you know, on when I was a member of the radio band in Berlin, but that's for later, and all the other guys, you know, and Donald Byrd and Booker Little. So I was completely blown away, you know, by this kind of material, and my approach to developing some sort of thing that can be called your own voice is really copy everything in the beginning and don't pay attention to people that tell you not to copy because, you know, there's no sense in copying. I think it's not true, you know. It's just a way of keeping people away from the good stuff, you know. But you have, in my opinion, you have to learn, play, and over again, you know, play and copy the stuff that other people have done.
Let me put a point there that I want to share with you, because I've said here before in previous series that Clark Terry used to say the main 3 words we have to keep in mind always is, in the beginning, imitate, emulate, create, in that order. Of course, we all started, you know, listening and trying to imitate and trying later on to emulate. And maybe if you're lucky, maybe you end creating your own voice, or what you say. But that's a perfect beginning, you know.
I think it's like a language, like vocabulary, you know. You have to learn the words, and the more words you learn, the more you're going to be, by ear, and the more words you learn, the more you're going to be able to combine them with each other without thinking about it and saying what you want to say. But sometimes it's whole sentences and whole phrases, you know, but you keep and learn so many of them that you actually keep forgetting where you have them from, you know, where you got them from. And
in the end, you do a melting pot.
That's it.
Of all that things. And in the end, that's going to be you.
In combination with your sound and all your abilities and disabilities, you know. I mean, let's be honest, you know, we're not completely on the spot and like completely capable of doing 100%. Everything, you know, every day. But that's part of our personality on the stage. And I love to keep my ears open and be you know, fresh and open for what I'm hearing from other people on stage. And last but not least, for me personally, I always wanted to come as close as possible to the human voice with my trumpet, which is maybe or might be something, you know, that is a little different, you know, from many other players, you know, that I've met, because the trumpet being a military instrument, basically, you know, taken from the battlefield.
To play calls, and then, you know.
Exactly. That's totally not, you know, what I felt a trumpet should sound like, you know. So for the time that I recorded, you know, and that I can call this a career, you know, I was always on the hunt, you know, for a sound on the trumpet that could be as close as possible to the human voice, which I think is the most perfect instrument on the planet.
That's beautiful philosophy. I really chapeau. Yeah, and I really admire and I respect that very much, and it made all the sense in the world. Because the voice is, as you say, the perfect instrument, but it's the most perfect in terms of inflections and colors and control of so many things. Besides, can say the words.
And it's a God-given thing too, you know, because other than the trumpet, which I believe, you know, is something that everybody can learn. I think, you know, the system of the brass instrument is something that seems very logical. But as much as you train your voice, as much as you get singing lessons, you know, I'm afraid it's not going to take you to a certain level of
you cannot fabricate Pavarotti.
No, it's not, because that was him. So it's gotta be something that this guy, you know, was involved in.
Absolutely. I'm sorry. Let me get a sip of vodka.
That's a good idea.
No, it's a little bit of water. Man, I'm delighted to have you here, because
it's a pleasure being here.
And the people before you have been, by the way, you're in good company because we start with Malcolm Manap and Gary Grant, and then we did Wayne Bergeron, and then we did Jerry Hay, and then we did Chuck Finley, and the last month was Bob Chepper,
Oh,
great Bob
fantastic.
Chepper, and then after you, the next one going to be Wynton Marsalis.
Woo!
You know, you're a good company. You're a good
Absolutely,
company.
absolutely.
And I'm grateful to everybody. By the way, yesterday, man, I want to share with the guy. I got a long conversation with Doc Severinsen. We were on the phone for 2 hours, man. We talk about everything. That was a lot of fun. I was on heaven, man. And he's so funny. He got a great sense of humor. You know,
Absolutely, and he dresses so well. Man, I want to be and look like him when I'm that age.
You met him, no?
Yes, I was very fortunate. Unbelievable.
It's amazing. And then I talked to him about this. I said, yeah, Toro, I will do it. Yes, okay. Let me know when. He promised he's gonna
come.
He's gonna do it.
Beware.
Man, yes, a dog is amazing. Okay, and then your first professional band.
My first professional band was led by a guy that probably influenced the entire German jazz scene big time. You know, it's a band leader called Peter Herbolzheimer.
Oh, of course.
Do you know Peter?
Of course. He played the trombone, no?
He was a trombone player
and a
arranger.
band leader.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he gave me my first gig. I was 18 years old. I just, I graduated from high school. And he called me to actually give me my first gig, and it was
in a big band.
Tour in a big band, and
big
it was
band.
a tour, and it was everybody wanted to be in his band at the time, because he had fantastic musicians in the group. Derek Watkins was playing in the band.
He was the guy.
Art Van Rooyen, was playing.
Wow.
Even Chuck Finley came over for various things. Palle Mikkelborg was in the band. And Carl Drevo on alto saxophone, and I mean, Ambel Jigs Wickham, who happened to be one of my teachers as well, on trombone, Bart van Leer and Eric van Leer from Holland, monsters in their field. And Peter was holding everything together.
Mangelsdorf was there too, no?
Mangelsdorf was a guest, I think, on one show, but
no member of the band.
Not a regular member of the band. And Peter was very fortunate to be on TV with his band, in the 80s and 70s. And this is, when I saw Dizzy Gillespie for the first time, because my father, I'm going to give you that little story. My father was so great, to me all the time. He never woke me up, with one exception. I was already dreaming, and in bed, and he woke me up and said, you have to come up, and let's sit in front of the TV, because there was Peter Herbolzheimer's band in their TV show, and Dizzy Gillespie as a guest playing a night in Tunisia. I'm still so grateful for my father,
wow.
Having
and that was
woken
in
me
the morning?
up. No, that was late at night, probably around 11 for a kid.
But you were sleeping already.
Yes, I was sleeping, and I was a kid, and he felt, okay, that might be of value for the little kid, and he had me see that.
That's great.
It was great.
That's great.
That was great. I will never forget that. And Peter gave me my first professional gig, and it was a tour through Germany and Europe, with Chaka Khan, and I was next to Bobby Shu, and I was the little rookie in there. I felt like a rookie, but I will never forget that. You will never forget your first really professional gig.
The first good gig, of course, that stay with us forever. And let me ask you a question. I know that Chris Walden is a good friend of yours.
Yes.
When you met?
Chris and I met in the National Jazz Youth Orchestra.
Before that?
Shortly before that. It was exactly 87. In 1987, I met Chris Walden, because he was also a member of that youth orchestra that Peter Herbolzheimer was leading. Shortly before he actually gave me my first professional gig in his own band. And Chris was already very different than everybody else in the section. He was already very much into arranging. He was one of Peter's students, actually, because Peter was a great arranger. And the combination of him being a trumpet player and an arranger.
He was an arranger already?
Yes, he was a very good one, at the time.
When he was 18,
I think he was
17,
probably,
something?
when I was 16 at the time, maybe 15, and he was 4 years older than I am. So he was 19, 20.
And he was a good arranger.
He was already a very good arranger,
Wow.
and he was very skilled. It took him just a couple moments, to actually write out a section, an arrangement, and it never felt like a problem, to him.
I'm gonna tell you the story he told me. He said that he was into the trumpet very, very much. He loved the trumpet. And he said, man, I was so happy and I was working hard with my trumpet, so on and so on, until I hear that guy. I say, who? You know who. Say, oh, you mean Till? He said, yeah, that guy. Until I hear that guy, and I said to myself, oh my goodness, I think I took the wrong instrument and the wrong profession. I think I should do something else. And then he said that day, I'm serious, he told me that, I'm very serious. And I don't know, I believe it wasn't a joke. He said, that day I made my decision. I said, you know what, I have to be a composer, an arranger, orchestrator, all the things, and forget about the damn trumpet, because I cannot keep up with that guy.
You know what?
He loves you and he hates you at the same time.
But we were roommates during the time, and
Chris
they had
is such
too
a
many.
sweet guy.
He's unbelievable,
I love him.
and they had way too many trumpet players to fit a section. I think he had like 8 players in the band, in the youth band, and Chris and I, had to wait all the time. So instead of playing with the band, because we were the youngest, we hung out in the room, and bought some chips and pickles and listened to all the great stuff, And I think I heard Frank Sinatra and Antonio Carlos Jobim, famous recording, through Chris Walden the first time, and Natalie Cole with George Shearing, and we listened to those things, and we felt like kings, even though there was, not a lot of trumpet involved, So that was the early days of Chris, checking out his path as an arranger.
And he became a wonderful man, an orchestrator and a composer and arranger. Unbelievable. Chris is a great musician, I really have to convince him to go and sit down here and illustrate us with all his...
Eventually we will do something together with him that he writes for us.
Yeah, man, he's an amazing guy. Okay, I know that people are gonna hate me if we don't go a little more in details of how you practice.
Yes.
What you practice. I know you play the piano very well, and you really put your finger in the piano, and I hear everything, beautiful chord and thing. Do you study the piano?
No, I'm completely self-taught on the piano, which I, regret sometimes, because I realized, a little bit too late, how much the piano rules the world of music, and how much all the power and all the harmonic, ideas that I try to play and understand, how much everything comes from the piano. And
right.
I can probably comp, a singer quite okay.
Probably no.
But
I hear you with me several times, and you sound like a beautiful, great jazz pianist.
But put a piece of music in front of me, and I get a heart attack.
Oh,
because
there's two of those.
I can't read.
That's two of those.
You don't read?
And the piano?
But man, the way you play, you never read music?
Nothing. Zero. Everything I do in the piano is by
But
you.
that's scary.
No, man, come on. I wish I should know your course and saying, how we doing? Halfway? That means 45 minutes?
Fantastic.
Damn. And then if we are halfway, thank you, Dustin, because this is a different system today. I have no clue, or how much time we doing something. Okay, let's play a little bit.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Because I can't wait to hear you.
Let's do it.
Let's play something that's gonna be so easy. Let's play no heads, just
no heads, just
blowing a blues, yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Till. Man, no, it's a lot of fun. It's just beautiful, man. I hope the people appreciate that. You hear the control Till has on the horn. But beside that, the ideas, where he can go in different direction, different kind of phrasing, different kind of things. That's what he mentioned before, the vocabulary. This is the vocabulary. This is the language we have to learn. And it's not necessary. Some people get a little confused about when they talk about patterns. I am really not a fan of that word, patterns, learn the patterns. I think it should be, we have to see the picture in a more wide way, see the whole picture. Dizzy used to say, improvisation is like painting a picture, You have the palette here with different brush and different colors and things, and you have to add colors and mix it up, everything, and create, impression of a little further, a little closer, and this and that. All kind of things. You use as many things here to create the beauty of the final thing, which is a wonderful Madonna.
And here we go again, exactly. Well, that's a very beautiful way, of him to put it, actually, because isn't it the freedom that you earned, through learning the vocabulary that enables you to work like a painter? Because if you don't have the material, if you don't have the tools, you can't do anything. It's like, the vocabulary is almost like the intelligence, in the music, while the stuff that you do, is something that needs to come out of the freedom, to possess these things, to actually have access to all that stuff. So
how you relate the piano, which is in C, and this is in B flat. How do you relate your ideas, your skill, your concept of creation between the piano and the trumpet? How you see that picture?
I don't think there's a lot of theory in my case, to that, because in the beginning I was struggling a little bit, with the fact that the piano and the trumpet have a different kind of tuning, but functionally, the piano to me was always like the temperature of the music we play. The temperature, you can tell. It's almost like the taste of a dish. You can see what's on the plate, but the taste you can't see. And the taste and the temperature comes from the piano. So it's colors. It's a warm color. That basically comes from harmonies. I always think of warmth. I can't tell you why. I'm always after the warm keys as well. The flat keys. That sound
absolutely.
So much
flat,
warmer
always.
to me.
Flat. Never. I never.
Sharp.
In the melody and star, I never use any sharp. All flat, of course.
And
the call of the instrument also. Mentally and physically, both. When you play with flats, it's warmer sound. It's more pretty, more pretty sound. But let me tell you, in my case, I really, because piano helped me so much, man, to learn how to improvise, to know where I'm going, where I come from, where I want to go in terms of the phrase and thing and that. When I improvising, I swear to God, man, what I see is the keyboard.
Is the keys. Unbelievable.
I see the keys, yeah. I not even think about it, the trumpet. And beside that, anything I ever wrote in the music, any of my composition, including the trumpet concertos and whatever, everything came from the piano.
That's interesting. The piano was your first instrument?
No.
And you're still thinking about the piano when you improvise. That's very interesting.
Man, I swear to God, I see the keyboard and I see where the bass is going, and where those scale and things, where I could go and shoot and go.
But I've seen you in concert, and it's impossible to ignore how much fun you have doing these things. You play piano in your gigs, like on your gigs. You
only
play
one tune. Because the people complain, I do more.
I don't believe that.
I'm serious.
You play keyboard. You the combination of all that is really what your
I sing a little bit, and I play a little
is about,
percussion.
and you make a difference this way.
My goal is to entertain the people, and before that is entertain myself. I have to feel like I'm having fun. Otherwise, I don't gonna be able to make the people have fun.
Do you think there is such things in music that can be called humor?
Humor?
Humor. Is there humor in music? Here we go.
That's the answer.
Exactly.
What about Louis? But he was the inventor of that thing.
Because I'm from Germany, you know, and the approach of the German approach, you know, to jazz is sometimes a very, let's say, serious approach, you know, maybe because that's what the mentality seems to be a little bit all about. But after the Second World War, you know, in Germany, the presence of American jazz musicians in Germany was pretty high, you know, due to a very good reason, because of the catastrophe that happened, you know. So all German jazz musicians had to think about something else, you know, to play than the traditional jazz, you know, that American musicians were doing. So this is why the avant-garde, you know, was a big factor and the best thing to do for those musicians in Germany.
In the 60s, late 60s or something?
No, after the war, you know, like in the 50s already, you know, but in the end of the 50s it already started, you know, that people felt, okay, we have to develop something on our own. And as you and I know, sometimes, you know, you can't find that much of humor, you know, in avant-garde music, you know.
That's true. It's too serious. You know, the thing is, we have to go with the flow. We have to really be flexible to adapt our way of thinking and our mentality and approach independent of the tunes. You know, if the tune is going that way, it's a happy tune. You must feel happy. Otherwise, you're never going to project a real happiness, because we cannot underestimate the intelligence of the audience. The people feel everything. They notice everything. Not only sonically, but also your gesture, your thing, what you say, how you smile, how you enjoy this, how you don't enjoy that, or whatever. We have to be extremely careful.
They pay attention.
When we are on the stage, because they pay attention to every single details. But it's part of the whole thing. If you're having fun, please have fun and let everybody know that's real. It's not BS. You're really having fun. And when you're playing the ballad, for me, the best compliment, I swear to God, man, is for you, for sure. When I look to the audience and see some lady or something, I say, oh, thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you.
It's emotional.
That's the best compliment ever, you know, because it's a man, through our instrument or something, we say something that touch the feeling and the heart of some person.
We are dealing with emotions, aren't we? You know, in a way. There's one thing that I realized is when we go on stage and play something, it's the emotion that we've been through already. Because if you are emotionalized on stage, you know, it's not gonna come through. You know, it's mostly, you know, playing about the emotions that we have experienced in the past, you know, that we recall.
It's a reflex of our thought.
And then you do your interpretation, you tell the story that happens, and this is actually what's getting right through to people's hearts, you know, and this is when they get touched, you know. So it's true emotion, but you've overcome it, you know, in a way. You've understood, you know, what was going on, and then you can tell a story that in its simplicity and its dryness sometimes, you know, it really gets through to people.
Hey, we're becoming over here a little philosophers.
Oh, shit, we're already done.
No, this is deep, of course. German people are famous to be extremely smart and that, and I feel embarrassed because I cannot keep up
that's
with
not
your
what it is. It's
intellectual profoundness. Yeah, let me ask you a question. When you, because the people for sure gonna hate me if I don't ask you, how you warm up typically, a typical day, even when you have a gig,
yes,
or when you don't have a gig that day, how you practice, what you practice, how long. Tell us your routine.
I will be very happy to speak about that. You know, first of all, I think it's important to mention, you know, that I'm not the kind of guy that you know, is practicing like super a lot, you know, especially the warm-up, you know, in my opinion is a little overestimated sometimes, you know. This is just for me, you know. I do warm up, you know, but I don't warm up for 20 minutes or 30 minutes like some players do, you know. I think, you know, if what you do is halfway is okay, if you're not lacking of some serious technique in various fields, I think a 5-minute warm-up is perfectly fine, you know, to actually be ready to play. What I do is I try to flutter, like
the very beginning,
like at the very before I play a little bit, you know, to actually get the blood circulation going. You know, I do some yoga in the morning, you know, to get my breathing in the right spots, you know, and which I think is something.
You practice the yoga respiration?
I do yoga because, you know, I have a little bit of a weak lung, you know, which is something I inherited from my mother, and you know, I always when it gets cold, you know, or when there's some you know, strange smell in the air, you know, my lungs, you know, really tell me, you know, yes. So I have to.
That's
take
one
some
of the
asthma
reasons I
spray.
didn't bring my cigar.
No, that is actually an exception. You know, I had never had a problem with cigar smoke. So that's what I do. Then I like to do a few exercises, you know, of this guy from Germany called Malte Bulba, you know, which is something with a little mirror. Exactly, and I have this little mirror in my pocket, like 24/7, you know, like this. It's a pocket mirror. And I try to
be how your makeup and your thing?
No. I try to look at my tongue, you know, and see that my tongue is in front of, like, pretty close, you know, to my front teeth, you know, all the time. And there's some exercises which I can't show right now because it's going to take hours and hours. But I recommend a book of this guy called
Malte Bulba.
His book is called Brass Masterclass.
He's been around for a long time.
And this guy saved my life because I had a false embouchure and I was putting the inner rim of my mouthpiece, you know, into the red of my lips, you know, with my upper lip, you know, until I was 25.
You play like this?
I put it in and I you know, I.
But that produces a very soft tongue.
Yes. But absolutely, the sound was pretty good, you know. But the problem is, the more I practice, you know, the more it went down the hill. You know, I couldn't actually get back.
Endurance is very difficult, and the consistency of the sound.
And the control, you know, I couldn't hit the notes, you know, I was missing notes, and it was very frustrating. It got to the point where I felt I was going to quit, you know, until I ran into Malte Bulba, and he fixed that, you know, within a year. And now I'm actually putting it where I think.
How long ago was that?
Oh, that's a long time ago. Probably, you know, 20 years now.
20 years ago.
20.
And then he changed your embouchure?
He changed my embouchure, you know, which is something that you can't do overnight, as we both know, because the brain, you know, is really strange. You know, the brain tells us.
And your setup and your sound machine, you know, to produce the sound, of course, it's a big change.
We realize and feel every detail, you know.
But you know, when it's necessary, it's necessary.
Exactly.
When you have to do it, you have to do it.
But I had to suffer.
And be glad you did it, because I understand that kind of thing produces a very jazzy, airy, and beautiful tone. But that's it.
That's it. And
the endurance,
and no control, and
the control.
And
sometimes we have to pound, you know, and with that kind of thing.
I still play with an airy sound sometimes, and I open my aperture, you know, the lips a little more than I should. You know, that's.
No, wait, that's a particular, a peculiar thing in your beautiful tongue. Can you demonstrate?
Oh, I would love to.
Can you demonstrate to play with a straight, more or less like in a classical or legit kind of sound, and then go into your jazzy tone?
Well, what my teacher would have loved me to do at the time was probably something like this. tried to develop over the years was, of course,
that's a regular sound. No?
That's my regular sound, which already has some air in there. But what I try to
but you do something with a lot more air.
Yes, when I play in my concerts, I go. And that's basically
that
me.
That kills me, man. That's a beautiful, so jazzy. Because you know what, I strongly believe that the jazziest sound in any instrument in jazz is a tenor saxophone.
Isn't that true? I fully agree.
It's a tenor saxophone.
And one more thing,
we cannot beat the tenor saxophone, especially when they do the subtone.
Ben Webster.
They call him a Hawking, Ben Webster, all those kind of things. Sub-scene, all those things, stangets.
Problem is, it can also be the loudest instrument. The tenor saxophone. Honestly, I think whenever I was on stage, I was never ever fighting as much as against a loud tenor saxophone. It can be so
Tell
much
me about
louder
it. I
than a
played
trumpet.
with 20-something year with Calle.
Oh, there you go.
Oh man, tell me about it.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, but that kind of sound is in the way to try to imitate the subtone of a tenor, which is made it very jazzy, very jazzy.
And we're closer to a voice in a way.
Absolutely.
Like a whispering voice.
Yeah, when I fall in love. Okay, and then keep talking about your preparation, because that's very important for us to know how you get ready, but not technical wise. And I'm talking about to get into your control of the horn, to express your ideas with a minimum of limitation.
Well, I have to mention the technical aspect, at least as far as my experience went, because I felt that I was very limited through my problems that I had with my embouchure, So when I overcame that, I felt that I could be a little more courageous on stage, and do things, that show the other side, of the, me and because. At the end of the day, I'm a regular trumpet player, like all of us. We love to explore, the various fields of the horn because it's fun. It simply is fun. I was never a loud high note player, but I have enough
Says
control.
We got too many.
There is some, but not like you.
No.
And we'll come to that later because I hope you know how much of a not just only influence, but how much of an icon you are for the trumpet world, especially for my generation. And I will never forget the moment I saw you the first time with Dizzy Gillespie in Hamburg, actually, with the United Nations band, and I got to shake Dizzy's hand, and I saw.
That was almost 30 years ago, man.
And the famous clip on YouTube that all the trumpet world, has been watched over and over again with you and Bern, with Freddie and with John Faddis and with Winton and you, and I think those things.
James Morrison.
He was also James Morrison, exactly. Yeah. So that. Given that, it's just a huge influence on me, to see you guys from there.
I appreciate that, but the people want to hear about you.
Okay,
they're sick and tired of me already.
And what I do is I basically try to find the balance when I play between my airy sound and the legit kind of sound, on the trumpet, because if I go too airy, I'm going to mess up, my technical abilities. So it's a very fine line with the airy sound on the gig, how much I do, and because I have to come back to regular playing during my concert, at least. So when I play a tune, with the airy sound, I have to switch back to a rather regular and normal approach for at least 2 tunes. I'm going to be very honest about that, because otherwise I can't go any higher. I can I lose control, and I like to keep control over it. But at the end of a concert, I feel that first of all a little rest is very appropriate and very important. But second, I already realized at a very early stage that I have to cool down on the horn. So I try after the concert to play nothing but simple scales, as clean as possible after the concert, as clean,
like a warm down or whatever they call it.
As clean as possible, exactly, like a cool or warm down, exactly. To be able to play a simple classical song or piece halfways okay and usable.
Wow.
Because I believe...
For how long you do that? A few minutes?
Only a few minutes, not to make me more tired, But I sensed and realized, that the brain, remembers the last
Re-establish
thing. The first thing the brain remembers in the morning is what you did last night. So if you just left the horn, that's at least how it works for me.
Man.
If I put the horn down and I play with my airy stuff and I put the horn up, in the morning,
you're gonna sound like
play
this.
some legit stuff, it's not going to work because my brain still remembers.
That's very interesting, man. That's very interesting. That's beautiful, man.
And so I try to neutralize myself. That's
okay,
basically what it
but
comes down to.
in your I hear about it. You warm up very short. That's fine. In terms of warm up, I think it shouldn't be like a one rule or one thing that everybody must follow. I agree with you. Some people need more time. Some people need a certain kind of routine. For example, today I was working in something else all day long, and the first note I played was the first one we play over here. It's okay.
It's okay. Sometimes.
Sometimes it happens, but we have to be very careful. In my experience, I have to be very careful. Don't do any crazy thing if I didn't warm up.
Yes.
At least I need a little more than you.
Yeah.
And when you get a little older, you will find that 5 minutes is not enough.
You will have to...
When I was younger, I was 5, not even 2. Like this. All right, let's go. When you start to get older, you see that your body, your muscle, your physical or whatever, doesn't get ready that fast. That fast. But it's okay. Whatever works for you, works for you. And you don't play the lead in a big band, like pounding, high notes all night or something. That's a completely different thing. For example, if you ask Wayne, he don't gonna tell you that he will more for 5 minutes. He spend a little more time. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay. And in terms of scales, patterns, things that you practice, like a different kind of intervals and thing that you use in any kind of form or any particular book or something to go over those things?
My book is actually, to learn as many Kenny Dorham solos that you can get a hold of.
Oh yeah.
And do the same with at least 3, 4, 5, 6 other players. And you will be so busy, practicing these things, and because we can do those things in all 12 keys. Just one chorus by heart in all 12 keys, it's unbelievable.
Oh, that takes forever.
It's very time consuming.
And that's your preparation. That's what you do.
That's how I think of when I improvise. Really, that's something I did in the beginning, and. When I'm on stage, I'm of course not thinking about those guys anymore. I'm thinking about myself. But that's what we do. But I'm not following a particular secret. I have to say, it's really I'm a melody guy. That's really what it comes down to. I want to play melodies, not licks or patterns, as you mentioned.
Yes, I'm with you 100%.
And that's what I try to do.
How we doing, Dustin, time-wise? I have to check because 20 minutes? 20 more?
Good.
Wow,
so we get to speak
beautiful.
more. Fantastic.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Yeah, if you ask me what is improvisation is build another melody over another one and another one and another one and another one.
And actually,
but always, it's, of course, following the changes and the chord and thing and whatever you can build on top of that, not necessarily repeating or quoting the melody of the main melody, because I really don't like those kind of things. You know what I mean? I think that the best way to improvise is be spontaneous, man. If you feel that you're gonna want to do this, go there.
Yes, well, that separates our music from almost every other
classical music or whatever, or something that's written and you have to follow exactly. Yeah, and tell me about the after Peter
Herbolzheimer.
Yeah, you say the name. I hear, but you say it.
Peter Herbolzheimer.
For how long you were in his band?
I was in his band for probably 2 or 3 years, because I was fortunate to get a job in the radio band in Berlin at the time.
In Berlin.
In '91, I was 19 years old. I came to Berlin with Peter Herbolzheimer, and I heard that the band there, the radio band, was looking for a trumpet player. You know, the third trumpet chair was vacant, open,
Yeah.
and so I called him and said, "Hey, I'm in town. Would you mind, if I actually audition today, because it was audition day?" And usually you had to do all kinds of paperwork, to send in, and photo and bio and everything.
Before the audition.
Absolutely, But somehow they said, while you're here, why don't you come? And it's our audition, so we will put you last on the list, And I was very naive at the time, which was my lucky moment, because I didn't know what was coming, and there was another 20 or 25 trumpet players, before me, and I was the last in line, and I went in, and the first thing I see is this incredible piano player that the band had, that is very well known in Germany. Unfortunately, he's not with us anymore, but his name is Kai Rautenberg, and he looked at me, and we became friends on first sight. It was incredible. He sat by the piano and he treated me like a friend, like an old friend. Said, "Come on, man, what are you going to play now?" I played a night in Tunisia.
You were lucky.
I was very lucky, and I played a night in Tunisia. And then the band leader, who was Horst Jankowski at the time, he wrote a famous song called "A Walk in the Black Forest." Do you know this?
Yeah.
That's what the guy wrote. Exactly. And Quincy Jones recorded it too, and Ella Fitzgerald sang it. So the guy was leading the band at the time, and he heard me, and I was very, very very comfortable with the piano player. And he came down and said, "Okay, you're 19 years old. Could you imagine having a gig like that?" And I immediately said yes. So at age 20, I was a steady member of the radio band.
Radios.
And started.
They did radio and TV, or just radio?
They did radio and TV. And I was
Berlin.
In Berlin, and I got to play at a very early age with people like Harry Belafonte, Shirley Bassey, James Morrison came in, Ray Brown, the late Ray Brown on bass, who I was very fortunate to record my very first album with. Tony Bennett, Gilbert Bécaud, Clark Terry, all these people, including you, by the way. You came in, and played with us. And yes, and I was exactly with the Rias big band, and you played the Aratunian trumpet concerto with us. That was incredible. And I had some incredible 8 years in the band until I realized that it was probably time to leave and develop my own concept and my own thing, But I was very fortunate because I could.
How many years in Berlin?
8 years in the band, and I stayed. I still live there, but I stayed. But I was a member there for 8 years, and then I did my own thing and started traveling and leaving the steady gig, which is not an easy thing, these days.
In what year you put together your own band with your own thing and what year you did it?
That was really in 1993, where I recorded my first album with Jeff Hamilton at the time, and Ray Brown, and a wonderful piano player from Cologne, still member of the radio band there, called Frank Chastinier, and a saxophone player called Gregory Peters, and you know, we didn't tour with that band, but that's actually what gave me the kick, you know, to put together my own quintet, which was, you know, basically existing of German musicians, you know, from all kinds of parts.
You recorded there in Germany?
Yes, we recorded in Berlin. Yeah,
in Berlin,
yeah.
With Jeff
and Ray Brown, and Ray Brown was so cool. It was unbelievable.
He was a very sweet guy.
It was one of my first overseas calls, you know, to talk to Ray Brown, you know, and talk to him about his fee, which I won't mention. But you know what? It's the coolest conversation and the biggest lesson I ever had. When I asked him, actually he asked me, "What can you pay me?" You know what his answer was? I mean, I said, you know, I'm paying it out of my own pocket, you know, but I want you to be happy, you know. So he said to me, pay me something between 200 and 10,000. And that was so fantastic because I knew immediately what to do, you know. This is how you end up, you know, getting the money that you really want, you know. Saying something like that. It was really, really cool. And he was so helpful in the studio.
Between 200 and
10 grand. Nice headline.
Be sure this is 10 grand and this is 200. Be sure you pass a little over the halfway.
Exactly. That's the game that starts.
But man, to have this guy in your record, that's priceless.
And you know
priceless.
What? Priceless, absolutely. And you know, he told me when I played, he called me Hot Lips. For some reason, like Hot Lips Page, you know, when we played.
Yeah.
And he said, "Till, never forget, nothing swings more than a quarter note." And I mean, him being a bass player, and we're talking Harry Sweets Edison, you know, you know, these kind of things. And I was dying to hear, you know, how it was to play with Charlie Parker and all these guys, you know, because he played with these guys.
With Dizzy,
you know?
man.
And
he played with Dizzy a lot when he was a baby.
Yeah.
And it's a famous photo there in the club. He's playing the bass, and Dizzy is hanging by the piano like this, and Ella is singing. Because they were married for years, you know.
Exactly.
Ray and Ella. Man, that's priceless. That's a good story. And then, since you've been with your band, your own band, your project, how many albums you recorded already?
I just released my 18th album.
18?
Yeah. I was with a small label in the beginning, and then I signed with Universal, which was Polygram at the time in Germany, and I signed with Verve Records, and I was actually exposed during the 90s, you know, to a wider audience, because in the 90s, you know, the media situation was still a little different. You know, you could have one TV spot for yourself and one article in a bigger newspaper, you know, and the next day people would go out and, you know, run for the CD and buy it, you know, which is a different thing today.
That now, yes, completely different. Unfortunately, the whole industry of the labels, and I mean record industry in general, had changed so drastically. But I remember that was like a year ago or something. You did that album of movie music.
That's correct.
That's correct. And I was so lucky that you invited me to play a little melody there.
It was we did The Godfather, right?
I love
one of the really famous trumpet melodies.
Let's play a little bit of that.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. I don't remember the key, but I think it was
just a
G minor. Yeah.
It was a nice time we had, man.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And that record has been out for a while, no?
Yes, it's out for a couple of years.
Couple of years already?
It was
I thought it was last year.
No. It came out in 2014. You know, in the fall.
Man,
But this is how time flies,
time
man.
flies,
And
damn.
that was a great thing to have you on the album.
Oh man, that was a big honor for me. It is, and Chris wrote the chart, no?
That's exactly what happened.
Chris Walden, man.
See, small world. We keep the circle closed.
By the way,
It's small.
a few months ago, I wrote a new trumpet concerto.
You did.
Yes, and we recorded everything here, with keyboards and this and that. And Chris Walden took that thing and he put that on paper and he organized everything and orchestrated correctly.
Great.
And man, I have a privilege and an honor. I did a premiere in Czech Republic with the orchestra there. And Chris' orchestration really made my piece sound modest apart, sound serious.
It's your second concert already, right?
My second, yeah.
Fantastic, congratulations, man.
Yeah, and I'm gonna play it again in the beginning of the next year. They're gonna play with the National Symphony of Poland.
Oh, fantastic.
In Warsaw.
Which is very close to Berlin.
Yes, please.
Relatively, I would love to come and check you.
Please, yes.
Check this out.
Yes. And the piece is very melodic. It's not like it's very melodic, very pretty.
And you wrote it?
I wrote everything.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And I'm very happy about because we always play the same material,
That's it.
And I love Arutunian, Human, Heider, all those things. But and the mother kind of pieces, now I'm not a big fan of those kind of things, I don't like. I like the melody, like you. I love melodies.
We have that in common. Would you say that the world of classical music has some open doors for us, for the jazz scene, or would you say that there is some kind of future possibility of the two worlds coming together? Is there some? Do you feel potential in there?
Absolutely, yes. Because nowadays symphony orchestra and then they are a little more inclined and enthusiastic to incorporate different things. I saw a bunch of videos nowadays of the orchestra playing in the middle of the park.
Wow.
Like impromptu kind of things. They show others start to play it then, and then let's get more closer to the people, because you cannot separate. This is not your class, we are a little higher class. No, man, embrace everybody, and you're gonna have more chance to have better audience and larger audience.
Yes, absolutely. I've had that same feeling, for a while, and I'm cooperating, with Sergei Nakaryakov, who should be with you in this chair, in the future,
goodness.
if you ask me, because
my Lord,
we have a two trumpet thing going there, and I mean, listening to this guy and actually playing with him is like intimidating, but it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
It is. Thanks God, he's not too good playing the blues.
We actually make him play, Western blues in the end, and he plays the big Louis Shake,
But I don't want him to learn that because otherwise we're gonna lose a job. He's gonna take it all.
Probably.
That guy's a monster.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
His ability to go over the horn and play so pretty and so perfect, his tempo, his timing, and his execution of the whole thing is so perfect.
His tonguing is unbelievable. His tongue is like
the double and triple. It's more than perfect. It's unbelievable, and very nice guy too.
That's why you should be here once.
Oh man,
we'll arrange for that.
Oh please, I would love to.
I know he's a big fan of yours, and
man, we met
some of our fellow
a couple of
trumpet
times.
peers are too.
Yeah, man, Sergei Nakaryakov is a wonderful guy, an incredible musician, and that's good things that we don't discriminate any player or any style of music. Some people does that. Some people say, no, that's not my kind of thing. Some people that like this, and they like, for example, John Coltrane, morning,
else.
Afternoon, and 9, and that's it. And you talk to them a little bit about Kenny G soprano things, and they want to kill you. They say, man, you know what? Kenny G sound very pretty in that soprano. It's not easy to produce a very pretty sound the soprano.
Especially for that amount of time.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think if you're there for so many years, there must be a reason,
Yes, absolutely. And then don't discriminate, don't be a specialist of criticizing, because that's not good. It's better to stretch your ear as much as you can and let
I agree.
all the information penetrate your brain. And then internally, you're going to separate things and you're going to keep close to your brain and your heart things that identify with your personality, with your thing, more than others. But everything should be included here. Because I love Sergei Rachmaninoff. With all every time I hear any of his compositions, I want to cry, man. But I enjoy in the same way, believe me, I swear to God, Michael Jackson. Every time I hear Michael Jackson, his musicianship, his rhythm, his talent to make music and to say so many beautiful things through his voice, that's priceless. And then I love Sergei Rachmaninoff, but in the same way that I love Michael Jackson.
I have this theory that there's a lot of musicians out there, or singers or whatever, that love music, which is probably the main ingredient, to love music. But some of them, are loved by music. Some of them are picked by music. It's like some
by the way, by God.
Exactly. It's like, okay, I'm music. I want you to play me. And some people are this talented. And Michael beautiful. Jackson is certainly one of those. Right?
One of those. Like this one over here.
Yeah.
He was all music, man. He was so, in the play. He played percussion in the way he sang, in the way he danced. You ever see him dancing?
Yes.
When he was young, man, he was a serious dancer.
I saw him dance as a kid, because he happened to be on the Muppet Show, and he did everything there. Swing Low, Sweet Cadillac. For us Germans, unbelievable.
I want to share with you something that I found out not long ago, when a dear friend of mine discovered Ella Fitzgerald. Was the same day that she went to the Apollo Theater for the competition, but she was in that competition as a dancer.
No.
And she won.
Incredible.
This is another one. Ella she's a messiah or something from God.
No doubt.
No. Music picked her. She didn't pick the music.
That's it.
No. Ella, Frank Sinatra, Nat King Cole.
All these guys.
All those people, man. Yeah. That voice of Nat King Cole, you cannot fabricate that. You cannot make that. You cannot learn that. Nobody can teach you how to sound like Nat King Cole.
No.
It's impossible. It's something that God gave it to you.
I was fortunate to sit next to George Benson once, who explained to me why Nat King Cole sang the way he sang. And this is obviously a true story.
Yeah.
And it has a German connection. This is why I'm telling you that. When Nat King Cole started singing, and I'm quoting George Benson, he wasn't understood, I think Billy Eckstine went up to him and said, "Man, you're very talented, but I don't understand your words. I don't understand what you're singing. You should sing like me." And as a matter of fact, I think Billy Eckstine's mother or father happened to be German. And there was a little small German accent in there.
But he pronounced very
yes, and
perfect.
the way of pronounce. So I think Nat King Cole, and this is what I heard from George Benson, changed his pronunciation, heavily
to
perfect, almost Oxford
Frank Sinatra too.
Yeah,
Frank Sinatra.
I thought that was very impressive.
Some people sing in English, my English is extremely limited. And I hear some people singing and don't understand half of the words. Frank Sinatra, when he sings, I understand 100%.
Every word.
And Nat King Cole, exactly the same thing. I understand 100% of the word. The pronunciation is perfect. I think we have to wrap. Man,
time flies.
Man.
Thank you so much for having me.
Let's play a couple of last minutes. Let's play something like That was beautiful, beautiful. Till Brönner, thank you so much, man.
Thank you so much, Arturo Sandoval. Thank you.
So much fun, man. God bless you and thank you so much. Bye-bye, guys. Bye-bye.